Welcome to the extension video for the A Plus EdTech podcast. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about two of the tools that we discussed in the last episode. And in that episode, we talked about Autocrat and Doctopus, and this is to make sure that we're still putting people before paperwork. So I have a couple of different tools, and the first one is Autocrat. Autocrat is going to allow you to create a spreadsheet, and I have an example one here. And when you create that spreadsheet, you're going to be able to create a document. So there's two things you need to do before you actually run an Autocrat is you're going to have, first of all, you're going to have your spreadsheet with all the information you need. One thing you need to make sure you have is that email address. Without the email address, that email is not going to get sent out. Then you need to create some sort of Google document that you want filled out. This can come out as a Google Doc or as a PDF. So you notice that I have some funny looking items here. So when this document runs, what's going to happen is these areas where these arrows are surrounding these titles, these are going to actually be what is replaced by Autocrat. So let me show you what this looks like. You need to go into add-ons and you need to go into get add-ons and find the Autocrat add-on. And when you do that, you can open Autocrat. Once Autocrat opens, it's actually probably going to tell you that you don't have any existing jobs. It's going to ask you to create a job. I'm just going to go in and edit my current job just so I can show you quickly. And you're going to name your job, and then you're going to choose that document. So mine's called account information, and you can choose from your drive or you can create an example. So then it's going to pull all of those triggers that we saw that you placed in there, and it's going to ask you which column from your sheet you want that to pull from. So you notice that I have teachers last first, but I really just want the first name there. I want the teacher's email address. I want if the account was created. So it's going to pull from the top line. Then all you have to do is it's going to ask you when it creates these files or file, if it's a single file with multiple documents in one file, then it's going to ask you what you want it to be named. So I want it to be named every document that I made. So if I had 5 or 6 of these, I'd have 5 or 6 documents created. Every document to be named by the person's first name, and then I want it to say account information. So they're able to look it up later. So this one is going to come out and it's going to say Ashley account information, and then you can either have a Google Doc or a PDF. Then you can have it as multiple documents. So every single line is going to end up being its own document. Or you can have it be a single document where every single line is just another page. You're going to want to choose a folder from your Google Drive for it to feed into. And then you can also have dynamic folders, which means that you might have one folder that belongs with one person, and so other people can't see those folders. That there's going to be a few different ways you can do that. Then it's going to have add merge condition, and this means that if you know you're going to have some times where maybe the username and the password haven't been in yet, but you've put 5 or 6 of them above it, and you want to run the ones that you have done, but do not run the ones that you haven't done, then you can do that. You can add condition, and it can be, if the email's not empty, then go ahead and run it. But if it is empty, then it won't run. And then you want to share and send your document. And as you scroll down, it can be shared as an editable document, view, comment, PDF. And then if you scroll on down, this is the email that's generated. So you would type in a new trigger for the email, and then you would type in dear, and then you can put in a trigger, and you can do it throughout your whole email. So you can keep the bulk information the same, but you can change the important details. Click next. You can run it on a trigger. So you can run it once a day, once a week, every few hours. You can run it whenever something's not empty. So if you have someone typing into a Google form, and then that Google form feeds into your Google Sheet, and you are running it every 12 hours, and all of a sudden it notices, oh, hey, this hasn't been run here, and it follows all the rules, and it'll go ahead and send it out for you so you don't have to do anything about it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to click this play button, and it's going to run the job for me. All right, so once the job runs, you notice I have the document created. It gives you a little link for it. It has another document. This is the one that it was merged to. This is the actual document itself. And then notice the email didn't send. There is an error sending the email because it is an invalid email address. So that's one thing to pay attention to as to whether or not it's a valid email address. I kind of did that on purpose to show you that it does show you these error messages. And then I can go ahead and I'm going to show you that it does create that document for you. So then if you go in and change it, it's going to run, and you'll have to delete all of the merging items, which is what I normally do. If this ran by accident and it didn't run right, then I would just go through and delete all of that. And then I can change the email address and get the correct email address in there, rerun it, and then that person will get the email. While Autocrat is a great tool to get information to people who you might need to just change a few of the little details inside of that overall information, Doctopus is great if you want to give everybody something different or everybody something the same, or you can even do groups. So to do that, you're going to have to go to add-ons, and unlike Autocrat, you have to start with the blank spreadsheet for Doctopus. And we're going to launch Doctopus. Once we're in Doctopus, it's going to ask you whether you want Google Classroom mode or distribute drive resources to a roster. I'm going to go ahead, and because this is not a tutorial for necessarily classroom usage, it can be for classroom usage. You can do this for students definitely, and that's kind of the intention. But since we've been talking about it on an administrative level and just paperwork, we're going to talk about distribute drive resources. And then I've created a roster, and you can build your own roster in here. The steps are very easy to follow. I'm going to choose my example roster, and when I do that, it's going to show me that I've already created all of these files. And I've got a file just for me, I've got a file that the entire class shares, and then I've got a file for each one of my students. I'm going to use this roster, and it's going to go ahead and populate my form for me, or my spreadsheet for me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click next. I don't need any updates. And then I'm going to choose a sharing type, and I can have individual where everybody has the same, individual where everybody has different, and then project groups and whole class. I'm going to choose the differentiated version just so I can show you how that works. I don't want students to have access. You can answer all of these questions, and I'm going to continue. Then it's going to automatically put them into group A. If I want more than one group, or if I want to send out a different item to different people, then I can type in group B, and I can refresh, and it's going to go ahead and populate B for me. Then I can choose a different folder. Now this is where organization is key, because you need to be able to know exactly where your stuff is. Now I'm going to choose this document for everyone who's A, and this document for everyone who is B. I'm going to save and continue. Then I'm going to be able to use triggers just like I did for my Autocrat, but these triggers are just going to be that notification. So you know when you share a file with somebody and then it sends them an email with that notification information that you typed in, you can do the same thing. So I could put Dear Luke, and then I could type in all of that information and have those triggers there. Now it's going to start populating up at the top, and it's going to start sending out those files once I tell it to run the copy. All right, so notice that now I have access and I can close out on there. I have access to these documents that I've sent them, and since I gave them editing access, I can go in there and allow them to edit, and then I can go into my Google Drive and I can find this easily in my shared file. So I'm going to come back to my Google folder and I'm going to go to my example roster, which is what was created whenever I created my new roster. And then notice that I can go into each class. I can go into the roster for my students and I can see Ashley's paper, and I can go in and I can look at Ashley's papers and go through and edit and all of those fun things.